This is notes for 1.1 for 6th grade. We have 4 basic operations we use in math. They are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. In word problems, most of them do not come out and say add these numbers, subtract these numbers, multiply or divide them. We have to use clues in order to help us know which 4 operations to use. So with addition, that means the sum of. So when you see sum, think addition. Subtraction is the difference of. So when you hear difference, think subtraction. And I will use these words a lot, especially difference. So when you hear difference, think subtraction. Multiplication is the product of. And division is the quotient of. Sum, difference, product, and quotient. You need to memorize these. You need to get familiar with these. You need to be familiar with which word goes with what operation. Let's go ahead and look at some problems. This says find the value of the expression. So on number 1, 1,745 plus 682. I'm going to stack up these numbers to add them. So all we do is add down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 7 and 6 make 13, plus 1 make 14, and 1 plus 1 makes 2. So the sum of 1,745 and 682 is 2,427. The next one we work the same way. Nine plus 2 is 11. We have a 7, 8, 9. 8 plus 2 is 10. And 2 plus 1 is 3. If you have a different method of adding and it works, you can use it. The next one is subtraction, or finding the difference of these numbers. 912 minus 799. This one we will have to borrow. We cannot take 9 away from 2. So borrow from the 1 becomes a 0, the 2 becomes a 12. 9 minus 12, 12 minus 9 is 3. The next one, 0 minus 9, we cannot take 9 away from nothing, so we need to borrow next door, which that would become an 8, and 0 will become 10. 10 minus 9 gives us 1. 8 minus 7 gives us 1. The next one, 7,694 minus 5,232. 4 minus 2 is 2. 9 minus 3 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. And 7 minus 5 is 2. If you have a different method with subtraction, and it works, you can use it. Multiplication. These dots symbolize multiplication. The other symbol is an X, but I want to try to get us away from using an X. Your book will use an X for multiplication. You just need to know that in this class we are switching to a dot. So if you have to write out a multiplication, if you have to write out a multiplication problem, you will need to use a dot. If you have a different method, like the lattice method, you can use the lattice method. I'm going to use my method. If you feel comfortable in using the lattice method, you can go ahead and do that on your paper and not follow with what I am doing. We should come out with the same answer whether you use my method or the lattice method. So 42 times 118. I'm going to stack up 118 first and then multiply it by 42. Some of you might not know how to do this, and that's okay. If you do the lattice method, go on and work the problem out on your own. So we're going to take 2 and multiply it by every digit up here. So 2 times 8 gives us 16. 2 times 1 is 2. Add the 1, that's 3. 2 times 1 is 2. So we're done with this 2, and it's in the 1 spot. So their second line, we're going to put a 0 in the 1 spot so that we can move over and use the 4. 4 times 8 is 32. We have 4 times 1, which is 4. Add 3, 5, 6, 7. And then 4 times 1 is 4. If you use the stacking method, make sure you stack the numbers really good. I did not overlap any of my columns. Everything's nice and straight. And if you have to write bigger to do this, that's fine. So now we're going to add these two together. So what this line means is we took 2 times 118. So this is what 2 times 118 looks like. And then this second line is actually 40 times 118. So we're adding these together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. 7 plus 2 is 9. And then we have a 4. So 4,956. On C, again, if you want to use the lattice method, go ahead. If you want to learn my method, that's fine. You can work this problem on your own if you need to. I'm going to use the number with the most digits. I'm going to write that first, and then I'm going to write 56 next. This way, I only have 2 lines of numbers to add instead of 3. So we're going to take 6 and multiply it by 124. So 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 2 is 12. Add this 2, which is 14. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Since we're done with the 6, we're going to bring down a 0. And now we have this 5, or technically it's 50 times 124. But we're only going to work with the 5. We did bring down the 0 for the 50. So 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Okay, remember when you multiply like this, I said 5 times 4 is 20. I bring the 2 up here, and I bring the 0 down here. The 10 spot, the number in the 10 spot, goes above the next number you're going to multiply by. Now we need to add. 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. 7 plus 2 is 9. And then we have a 6. And if you do the lattice method, you might find some commonality between what I did and what you did on the lattice method. Whatever method you want to use, that's okay with me, just as long as you come out with the same answer. Okay, now let's divide, or find the quotient of. If you have another way to divide, that's fine with me. I'm going to show you some tricks on how to divide. So we have 234 divided by 9. So I'm going to set this up as long division. To do that, I write it how I read it. So 234 is what I write down first because I said it first. 234 divided by. That means I'm going to make the division symbol, the long division symbol. 234 divided by 9. That's how I remember which number goes inside and which number goes outside. The number that you say first goes on the inside. So 9 cannot go into 2, but 9 can go into 3, or 23, excuse me. 9 cannot go into 2, so we have to move over to the next digit. 9 can go into 23 2 times without going over. And how I remember this is D, M, S, B. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. You can remember this as dad, mom, sister, brother. So dad, I divided. 9 can go into 23 2 times. Mom multiplies. 9 times 2 gives us 18. Sister subtracts. So we subtract those two numbers and we get a 5. Okay, 18 plus 5 gives us 23, or 23 minus 18 gives us 5. And brother means bring down, so we have to bring down the next number. Dad, divide. 9 goes into 54 6 times. Mom is multiply. 9 times 6 gives us 54. Sister, we subtract. And brother, we bring down. We're done. We have a remainder of 0. So you go through this loop until either you get a 0 or a 0 for the remainder, or until you have enough digits in your decimal, because this can be used for decimal numbers. This next one, it looks like a fraction. It is a fraction. It is also a division problem. So when you see a fraction, I want you to think of it as a division problem. Fractions are not scary if you think of them as division. So what we're going to do is set this up. 588 divided by 84. You read it just as it appears. 588. This bar right here means divided by 84. So I said 588 first, then I said divided by 84. Another way you can remember which number goes where when it's set up in fraction form, think of 588 being on top of the roof. Well, it starts raining, so he runs inside the house and kicks 84 out. Okay, so let's divide. 84 cannot go into 5. 84 cannot go into 58. But 84 can go into 588. Now, 588 is a large number to think of when you think of 84. So what I want you to do is off to the side, anytime you do scratch work, I do not want you to erase it. I want you to keep it on your paper, especially on tests and quizzes. So I'm going to take 84 and I'm going to multiply it by some number. Now, instead of sitting here and say, okay, well, I'm going to start with 5, and then I'm going to go up or down from 5, or start with 9 and go down, I want you to look at the last number. It's an 8. This is an 8. So I need to take 4 times something to get us 8. Well, think of the multiples of 4. 4, 8. Well, 4 times 2 gives us 8. But if we multiply this number by 2, it's not going to get us 588. So let's keep thinking of multiples. 4, 8, 12, 16. 16 has a 6 at the end. 20, 24, 28. There's an 8 at the end. 7 times 4 gives us a 28. What you're doing is looking for the multiple of your number in the one spot to match this guy. Now, it doesn't always work out this way, but you can usually get really, really close. So 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 8 is 56. Add 2 to 56, and that's 58. So 84 times 7 gives us 588. So this is our answer. Oops, I didn't mean to circle that like that. So 588 divided by 84 gives us 7. I use this trick all the time when working with larger numbers. I always take the numbers in the one spot and find numbers that are close to that number, just like I did here. Okay, so that is finding the value of each expression. You will have some of this on your assignment. Okay, some word problems. You have to think which operation you need to use. So for a word problem, always read the problem. The scores on your first 2 tests were 82 and 93. By how many points did your score improve? You may need to read it one more time. The scores on your first 2 tests were 82 and 93. Okay, so 82 and 93 must be important. By how many points did your score improve? The next thing I want you to do is underline your question. By how many points did your score improve? So we need to figure out the difference of our scores. We want to figure out how many points we improved. So that means we're going to take our numbers and subtract them. So we're going to take 93 minus 82. 3 minus 2 gives us 1. 9 minus 8 gives us 1. So 11 points. So does this make sense? By how many points did our score improve? Our score improved by 11 points. Does that make sense? Well, it does. So our score improved by 11 points. By putting it into sentence form, you can really think logically. You can think, does this make sense? It would not make sense to add these 2 numbers together. It would not make sense to multiply them together. And it sure does not make sense to divide them. A store has 15 boxes of peaches. Each box contains 45 peaches. How many peaches does the store have? Okay, so let's read this again. A store has 15 boxes of peaches. So imagine 15 boxes lined up and they contain peaches. Each box contains 45 peaches. Well, each box, that means one box contains 45 peaches. The next box also contains 45 peaches, so on and so forth. Here's our question. Please underline it. How many peaches does the store have? Okay, you can use a picture if you need to, if you cannot imagine 15 boxes. So we have 15 boxes. I'm not going to draw them all out. You can if you need to. So this box has 45 peaches, this one has 45 peaches, this one has 45 peaches. Well, this sounds like a multiplication problem. For each box we have 45 peaches. So 45 times 15, and you can use the lattice method if you wish. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 gives us 22. Bring down a 0 because we're done with the one spot. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. Add straight down 5, 7, and 6. Okay, so the store has 675 peaches. Does that make sense? If we have 15 boxes total and each box has 45 peaches in it, we should have 675 peaches. That makes sense. So this will conclude 1.1 notes for 6th grade.